Okay, so here's how to get to the student survey. You will most likely be on one of the student laptops from the computer lab. And so I'm going to show you how to get to there from a student laptop computer. Yours won't look exactly like mine since this is my regular work computer, but the process will be the same. So the first thing you're going to do is find the internet and double click on the internet. And that will open to our VMLC computer homepage. This is the homepage for all of the student laptops, and so regardless of what computer you're using, this is what it will look like. And you will see here, just from the homepage, I haven't clicked anything in the internet. Here is the Spring 2014 VMLC Student Survey, and I'm going to go ahead and click on that. And right underneath is a link that says Show Encrypted Text. So we went ahead and hid the link so that students aren't taking the survey at home, since they have access to this as well. And we just want to make sure that all of the data we're getting is accurate and good. And so we have it password protected, but it's not too difficult. So you're going to click on Show Encrypted Text, and the password for the decryption key is VMLC. It's the name of our organization. So pretty easy. You don't need to do capital letters. And then now you can see the text that was hidden, and you'll have to click here to go to the survey link. Alright, and we start with the first page. This is the first page of the Spring 2014 VMLC Student Survey. I just wanted to show you a few things. Up here at the top where the red bar is, that's your progress bar, which will let you know how far along you are. The questions that are required have a star next to them. Not all questions are required, obviously, but if you skip a required question or try not to answer it, it will not let you proceed to the next question. So if you get that error, you might just want to go back and check the starred questions to make sure that they all got answered correctly. Also, if you are working with basic or 1A students, so our the lowest level students, this is going to be a hard survey for them, and so if you can only get through the required questions, that's okay. They should be able to answer a few of the other ones, but the intent of the survey is not to make them feel stupid or discouraged. So if you see them kind of getting that way, then just say, hey, it's fine, and move on. The 1B students should be able to answer a few more questions. I think you'll be surprised at how much they are able to answer. And 1C, level 2, 3, and 4 should all be able to answer most, if not all, of the survey. And obviously we want all of the questions answered that we can. And so if a student's having trouble with something, you might give them a minute to think about it and respond, or ask the question a different way. Try to be creative in how you're getting them to answer the question. Also, if you make a mistake, so let's say that a student answers a question a certain way, and then 5 minutes later they say, oh, you know what, I don't have children, or I am working part-time, then if it's too late, if it's too hard to go back, which can get a little confusing, just make a note of it somewhere with their student ID and what needs to be changed in the survey, and we can go back in on our end and change it. So if you make a mistake, don't worry about it, don't really freak out, and it'll be okay. We'll be able to fix it. So this is the first page of the survey. We will give you a sheet that has the students' names, their VMLC ID numbers, and their birthdays, and so you should be able to do the first 2 pages kind of you can do them just from the sheet. One thing I will tell you is please double check the student ID number. Don't let the student tell you their ID number, because sometimes they get it wrong, and it's very important that we have it correct. So I'll just go ahead and enter an ID number, and I'm a female, and I'll put my birth here. And then when you're ready to move to the next question, then you'll push next. And these should all be pretty self-explanatory, pretty easy questions. This question about where students are from, we are just trying to group people, and so just give it your best guess, and if it's wrong, that's okay, because we have their specific country that they're from in the database, so we don't pull all of our data from this question. So just give it your best guess. Question 8 is, basically we want to know what kind of programming would students like to see. So we do English classes, but do students need to learn how to look for jobs, or how to find jobs, or how to be a better parent, how to understand the American school system? What kind of things outside English, outside of English, would they like to learn? And they can choose more than one, so I'm going to choose computer skills and finding and keeping a job. And you'll see that this question does not have a star, and so it's not required. So if you are working with a basic or a 1A student, they probably would not be able to answer this question. Question number 9. You'll notice that a lot of these questions they start with since September 2013, and that's because we're trying to track data, things that have happened this school year. So we don't want to know if they got their citizenship 2 years ago. We want to know if they got their citizenship in November. And so this can be a little tricky. Sometimes it's hard for them to understand. And so one thing you can do is, if you say, do you take classes outside of VMLC? And they say yes, and you say, well, when did you take classes, or how long have you been taking classes? You can kind of judge from that whether it falls within the school year. So this question right here, question 9, is about outside classes. So we want to know if they're taking any other classes other than English at VMLC. Most of them will probably check no. I have not taken any others, but they can check multiple ones if they've done that. Question 10 is about, we want to know if students learned more about computers this year. So the emphasis is on the more. So they might have known how to use the internet, but they didn't know about Microsoft Word, and so they did learn more about computers this year. Question 11 will be a little more difficult. Basic and levels 3 and 4 will not understand the side-by-side software because they don't use those books and we don't have the software for it. So the answer to this question would be, I don't know about this. Everything else should be pretty understandable. The answer choices might be a little tricky. Just use hand motions and facial expressions to explain what comfort is. And so you could say, not comfortable is, oh, it's bad, I don't know, I'm scared, I'm afraid of that. A little comfortable is, it's okay, I'm fine. And then very comfortable is, oh yes, I can do this, I know this very well. So usually that kind of helps them understand, and we'll use this again in the survey, and so it's good for you to just get them used to it right now. So I'm going to go ahead and push next. So this question, how confident are you using English when you do the following? So the same confident questions. If they don't understand something, it's fine for you to skip it. Let's say they don't understand this question watching English television or listening to the English radio. And please note that this is using English to talk on the phone and using English to ask questions, not how confident are you asking questions in your native language. Alright, so question 13 is, again, it's asking about things that have happened in this school year, so since September 2013. So just to clarify, we're not interested if a student became a citizen 10 years ago. We want to know about things that have happened since September. So most of them will probably say I didn't do any of these, but some of the students might choose all of these options. So they took classes, they sent in an application, they had an interview, and they got their citizenship. So if there's confusion, the best way to ask is, are you a citizen? And then if they say yes, then you can say how long or when did you get your citizenship, and kind of count backwards from there. Question 14. This is fairly straightforward. Everyone will be able to answer this. It's required, and so what you need to know about this question is that if they answer yes, they'll be taken to a set of questions about their jobs, and if they answer no, they'll be taken to a different question about workforce. And so if your first student works and your second student doesn't, then their surveys are going to look different. So just don't be surprised or alarmed by that. It's okay. If someone's not working, then we're not going to ask them what industry they're in. So I'm just going to go ahead and say, yes, we work. All right, so this is the first yes the student is working question. What kind of job do they have? This can be very difficult for them to do if you just said, well, what industry is your job in? Sometimes it's easier to say, well, what do you do? And then you can help them choose what industry they're in. For this one, I have, just as an example, I've been working at VMLC since March of 2011, so I would put in a 3 to represent March, and then the 4 number date, 2011. If a student isn't exactly sure when they started working, that's fine. Just see if they can tell you how long, and then just kind of work backwards. So if they say, I've been working for 7 years, then you could say April of 2007. That's fine. We're just trying to get a general idea of how long they've been working. This one, again, it's the comfortable questions. If they don't have customers, which a lot of them, if they work in construction, they don't talk to the customers, you can choose not applicable. The reading and writing for work question, we're trying to gauge how comfortable they are using written English at the job and on their job. So that's a new question this year. And then finally, this question can be pretty difficult. So again, since September, did you get a better job? We want to know about job improvement. How is English improving their job prospects? So we define this by better hours, more money, a better location, but it could be they got a nicer boss, they got a new job that pays better, something like that. So if they got any of those, then you would answer yes. So I'll go ahead and answer that. All right, if the student answers no, that they're not working, then you will be taken to this question, which is basically asking students if they have looked for a job, and if they have, how have they looked for a job? So we want to know, where are they looking for jobs? What part in the job process are they kind of getting stuck? Where might they need help? And so they can choose multiple of these. They might have looked for jobs in the newspaper, filled out an application, and then had a job interview over the phone. If they have not done any of these things, then they're not really interested in working, then that's fine, and you'll check this one. All right, this question, it's kind of similar to the job question in that if they do have children, they will be taken to a set of questions about their children, and if they don't have children, then they will skip those questions. So again, if your first student has children, then you will answer these, and if your second student that you interview doesn't have children, then you won't answer these. This question also, just to clarify, if it's a grandparent who's taking care of their grandkids, that's fine. They can say yes, and we want to know about them. It doesn't have to be a parent necessarily, but if there are children living in the home with them, then you can answer yes to this question. So I'm going to go ahead and say yes. All right, so here's the first children question. We want to know how many children they have and approximately how old they are. Just give it your best guess. They might be able to tell you age. They might be able to tell you what grade they're in, just however you can do it. So I'm going to say that I have 1 pre-K child, 2 in elementary, and 1 in middle school. So that's how that would look. I have 4 children in total, and this is how I would separate them out. These questions, they're simple yes or no, and so sometimes the person might not. If they don't know, it's fine. You can just leave it blank. So let's say I don't know what a parent-teacher conference is, and I'll say no on these, and that's okay if you have to leave one blank. This question, how often do you, this is always, sometimes, and never, which you might have to explain. Always would be every day or every week. Sometimes would be maybe 1 time a month, and never would be no. I never do this. This should be pretty self-explanatory. Helping with homework doesn't necessarily mean sitting down and doing calculus with them, but making sure that they get it done, connecting them with tutoring, that kind of thing. Helping your child be ready for school on time. That could be they're dressed in the appropriate clothing, they have had breakfast, and they are at school in their classrooms where they need to be on time. This question is basically trying to gauge whether the students are connected to community resources or not. And so we want to know if they go to the public library or if they attend clinics and health fairs. And so this is, again, yes or no. If they don't understand something, then that's fine. You can leave it blank. the last one, talked with Beth at VMLC to get help with CHIP, SNAP, Medicaid. That is if they met with the student manager, the student outcomes manager at VMLC, so it's a staff person at our in-staff person who can help them apply for government assistance online. That will only be a handful of people. So if they seem to not understand, you can just say no. This question, it can be a little confusing to ask. Sometimes they don't understand what receiving money from the government means, and so I found it to be helpful to say, do you get CHIP, food stamps, disability, Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid? Usually they recognize the name of one of those programs, and then they can tell you yes. So we'll say yes. So again, since September 2013, in this school year, have they begun to receive more money, the same amount, or less money? And then the next question might be a little confusing, but we simply want to capture those that might not understand that if they've had CHIP for 3 years and they added SNAP food benefits, then that is more money, even though they might not think of CHIP as money. They might not think of that as assistance from the government. So again, if any of these questions are too confusing, just feel free and don't worry about it. These are the last two questions. 24, did taking classes at VMLC make you feel confident? Sometimes I'll say, did it? I'll stick my hands in my imaginary suspenders and say, yeah, I feel good. I can speak English. And then question 25 is, what we're looking for here is basically, it could be a story, it could be some way that English has changed their life. So some way that it's made them better. So they can say, before I took classes at VMLC, I could not speak to my children's teacher, but now I can. Or I was stuck at work because I couldn't speak English, and now that I do, I have moved up to a manager position. Those kind of things. We're looking for complete sentences in English, and we will use these to pull out and using grants. And so we love hearing student stories and what our volunteers and our staff are working so tirelessly to do. If you have any questions, this box is kind of endless, so you could type as much or as little as you want, and you can just kind of transcribe what they say into the box, and that would be great for us. When you're finished with the survey, you will click Done, and that will take you to this page, which I'll just read it for you. It says, thank you for completing our survey. Students, you can click on the red X at the top right corner of your screen, so they can X out of the browser. Volunteers, please push the Home button on your internet browser to go back to the VMLC computer blog, or click on the VMLC computer blog tab that is still open at the top of your screen. So you have two options here to get back to the beginning of the survey. You need to either click on the Home page, which will take you back, and then you can do here's the VMLC student survey, show encrypted text, VMLC is the password. So here's the link again for the survey. Or, let me get back to where I was. Oops. Or you can just click over here. You'll see that there's the computer blog is still open, and so you can just click on that tab, and there's your link right there. So you can do either of those options. If you need help, please come ask staff, and we can help you get back to the right place so that you can start over with a new student.